Hilchos Taruvos, Simin Tzadiches Seif Tes. Continuing where we left off yesterday, Mechaber says, Deah, Sheish ba Chamishim v'Teisha, Nun Tes Zeisim Heter, V'Naflu ba Shnei Zeisim, Echad Shel Dam v'Echad Shel Chelev, Kol Echad Mitzdaref, Ima Nun Tes Shel Heter, Levatel Chaveroi. The case of the Mechaber, a very straightforward case. I have in front of me two pots. Sorry, I start off with, one pot, One pot. And in this one pot, I have 59 zaysim of heter. Makes no difference what. And then I have in front of the pot two zaysim, one of dam and one of chelev, and both of those zaysim now fall into the pot. Effectively, we now have a pot of 61 zaysim in the pot in total, 59 of heter, two zaysim of iser. You normally would have thought, what's the makom to be makel on such a thing? I don't even have shishim of heter, bechlal in this pot. Keneged the zayis of iser. But the Mechaber shockingly tells us that the case is mutter. Why is it mutter? So the basic concept, we'll elaborate more in a second, is because even though we don't have 60 kezesim of heter, we do have in front of us 60 kezesim keneged each iser. So I have the kezayis of chelev that fell in, and I have the kezayis of dam that fell in, and keneged the kezayis of chelev, I have 60 kezesim against it. 59 of heter and 1 of dam. So the 59 of heter with the 1 of dam is going to mevatel the 1 zayis of chelev. Mevatel the tam, yeah. Mevatel the tam. Very important because if you can see the dam, let's make dam is not so shchiach because it will just be nivla. But if you have a dover gush that fell in, so obviously you would need to remove the dover gush after the fact, right? But the tam of the dam is going to get batel. And who adin by the chelev, even though I don't have 60 kezesim of heter keneged to kezayis echad shel chelev, but I do have 60 kezesim of, we'll call it non-chelev, that goes against the chelev, and therefore it's being mevatel. That's the halacha of the Shulchan Aruch. We'll do a deeper analysis in a moment. The Mechaber continues with a similar case, which seems to not be a super duper chiddush, and he says, "V'chein chav tes zeisim shel heter shenafel behem kezayis chelev." This case is I now begin with one pot which only has 29 zaysim of heter, and into that pot we fell in a 1 kezayis of dam. Effectively, we now have 30 kezaysim of whatever on this pot, 29 of heter, 1 of dam, and in this pot we begin with 30 kezaysim of heter. 1 zayis of chelev now falls in. Now I have 31 zaysim in this pot. Went 30 in this, 31 in this, and I now mix the two together. Obviously, before I mix them together, I couldn't eat from this pot, and I couldn't eat from this pot. Each one does not have enough to mevatel. I have 29 keneged the dam here, 30 keneged the chelev in this one. Each pot on their own is usher, sorry. But when I mix them together, the Mechaber says, so now it's mutter. Why? Because of what he says in the Reisha. When I mix them together, b'shogeg only, as we'll learn in the next siman, you're never allowed to purposely, intentionally mix things and create bittul. We touched upon this yesterday as well. That's the principle of ein mevatlin iser lechatchila. So only b'shogeg, fine. Or it didn't even, no, it just happened on its own. A kof came in and mixed them together. But now they got mixed together, what do we now have? We now have, once again, 59 zaysim of heter, 1 zayis of chelev, 1 zayis of dam, and therefore it becomes batel, like the case of the Reisha. Adkan, the inyan of the Shulchan Aruch. There's a few points we need to speak out over here. The first point is that the Taz makes a comment, and he says that this halacha does not work lefi the opinion who says chaticha atma nasas nevela. We're just going to use the words chanan. I think we're all familiar with that acronym. Much easier to say for me. So the principle of chanan teaches us as follows. Remind ourselves. We have first of all chanan by basar b'cholav, and we have chanan by shar isurim. Chanan by basar b'cholav everybody holds of, and chanan by shar isurim is machlokes mechaber and the Ramah. What is the case? Remind ourselves. Begin with basar b'cholav. I have in front of me a piece of steak. And the steak makes a difference. I have 1 kezayis. I have make it better. I have 1 kezayis of steak in front of me. 30 kezayis better. Yeah, 30 kezayis of steak in front of me, and 1 kezayis of cholav, milk. The one kazayis of chalav falls onto the steak of 30 kazaysim of steak. Okay, everybody agrees it's usher, no problems, no questions asked. But now it becomes more exciting when I now mix into here another 30 kazaysim of basar. However, I did that, I got another piece of steak, I cooked it together, it doesn't make a difference, and I now cook them all together. So the simple mind may have said everything is mutter, because since the whole inyan of basar b'chalav is you have to mabata the time of the chalav, so, and as long as the chalav is mixed in with the basar, it becomes asr. So over here, what happened was, I originally began with one kazayas of chalav keneged 30 kazaysim of meat. It wasn't batal. And now I added on another 30 kazaysim of meat. Well, and now effectively I have 60 kazaysim of meat keneged the one kazayas of chalav, and therefore it should become batal. The principle of Chanan teaches us that it's not batal. The principle of Chanan teaches us that once the chayla fell on the basar, we now have 30 kazaysim of a new isser called basar b'chalav. We just created a new thing. So, 31 kazaysim of basar b'chalav. So I now need 60 times that to mevatel it, and that's the principle of Chanan. Fine. The Mechaber says we only say that principle by basar b'chalav. We don't say that principle by shari surim. So very similar. If I have 30 kazaysim of basar shechuta in front of me, and then one kazayis of basar nevela falls onto the basar shechuta, the Mechaber says that I now have in front of me Isser. I can't eat that meat, obviously, but if I now bring in Bishoge, whatever, another, some more Basar Shchuta, and mix it in with that original mixture, says the Mechaber in Siman Sadi Beis, so we can now mevatel the Nevela. That's the sheet of the Mechaber, and you think about it, that makes a lot of sense, because the only reason why we say Chanan by Basar B'chalav, or the primary concept behind it, is that Basar B'chalav creates a new Isser. Masha'enkin by Shari Surim, there's no Isser called Taruvais. Every case of Taruvais is just concern that you have Isser in there. So you can't ever create more Isser than you began with. Kipshuta, that's the way it should work. So the Mechaber says, therefore you don't say Chanan b'Shari Surim. Says the Ramah, we're machmir to say Chanan b'Shari Surim, and that's Kipshuta din Rabbanan. We'll see that on that point more in a moment. But the Ramah holds you say Chanan b'Shari Surim, fine. So asks the Taz, or comments the Taz, that this halacha is neged that. In the Reisha, you had a case where you had a big pot of 59. First a kazayis of chayla falls in, and then a kazayis of dam. Well, once the first kazayis of chayla falls into the pot, the whole pot should become aser, and therefore how could the second kazayis, when it falls in, save the day? Now in that the Shach comments, he says, it could be they fell in the same time. It could be that you have 50 kazaysim of heter, at the exact same moment they fell in. So it's not necessarily against the Ramah. But in the Seifa, it's impossible. In the Sefer, the whole case was I began with one pot of 30, one pot of 29, and each pot, an Isser fell into the pot. At the moment it falls in, it becomes Isser. So how in the world can you save the day? So the Taz says in a Chanami, this halacha goes against the Ramah, and fine, it doesn't work like that. The Shach says it doesn't make that much sense, because the Ramah is not shy to comment on the Mechaber when he argues on him, especially by this discussion about Chanan. He does this all the time. So why would the Ramah not comment here, says the Shach? Aleph. Beis, the Shach says that the Ramah does comment, we didn't see it yet, and we'll see what the comment of the Ramah is on a different point, as if he's ignoring the fact that he disagrees with the whole principle, the whole premise of the Mechaber. So the Shach presents two answers to explain why this siman works lefi the Ramah. And each answer is very, very important. One of them is a flashback from Siman Sadi Beis, and one of them, I don't think we've seen this principle yet. And very, very important in halacha. The first one, says the Shach, is lach balach. The Ramah writes in Siman Sadi Beis that although he paskins lahachmir by Chanan, by Shari Surim, that's only by Bishul and lach beyavesh, when I'm nispashal two things biyachad. But lach balach, says the Ramah, we're mekel behefsid meruba. Only behefsid meruba. Lach balach, behefsid meruba, we're mekel. What is the case of lach balach? Let's just use a simple case. I'm using this on purpose. I have a cup of grape juice in front of me, which is red, and then fell into that thing. It fell blood into there. So, and I only had 30 kazaysim of 30 kazaysim of grape juice or wine. One kazayis of blood falls in. It's ain't a bottle. You can't eat the grape juice. No, the Kiddush Friday night, you're gonna have to spill it out. But then comes along the other 30 kazesim of wine, and it spills into that original cup, now bringing us to 60 kazesim of wine, keneged the one kazayas of dam, under the principle of Hanan. It shouldn't work, but says the Ramah, b'makom hefsed meruba, you can be mekel. Fine. So says the Shach, this halacha might be discussing a case of lach belach, and therefore everything could work with the Ramah. Meaning the whole kasha that the Taz, or comment that Taz said, was that this halacha, when I have one pot of 29 heter, one pot of 30 heter, each one, because I said Isra fell in, one of chelev, one of dam, the Mechaber says you mix them together, it all becomes mutter, and the Shach and the Taz points out that that's neged the principle of Hanan. The answer is you don't say Hanan by lach balach, the davar hefsem ruba. So this halacha would be relevant in such a case. The other answer the Shach gives is a very, very important kula, and that's as follows. He brings down from the Ramah himself, not here in the Shulchan Aruch, but in the Taras Chatas. The Ramah, we know, wrote a sefer called the Taras Chatas on Yoreh, and it's very important always to go when learning Shulchan Aruch together with the Taras Chatas to understand what the Ramah's opinion is about many areas of these details. And the Ramah says as follows, that we are not machmir by Hanan when the guy knew about did not know about the taruvis. We're only machmir if the guy knew about the taruvis. So, for example, this is say a cute example for now. So, there's an Erev Shabbos. The mother is making cholent. She prepares the meat, marinates it, puts it to the side, cooks it. It's sitting in sizzling hot stove. The meat's all cooking for the cholent. She already prepared the cholent, and she's ready to put the meat into the cholent. She walks out for a minute to take a phone call. During that 1 minute, her child, 2-year-old child, walks in with some davar shel iser, makes no difference what, found it on the street, a piece of who knows what. I was going to say a bug, but maybe that's nosin tam of gam, makes a difference. And he drops the piece of iser onto the meat. 1 kazayas on the meat, and we had 30 kazasim of meat in the pot. So now if they stop the camera, at that point, the meat should be usher to eat. But nobody knew about it. The mother walks back in, she had no clue, she takes all the meat, puts it onto the cholent. Nobody knew. Later on that day, the neurotic father, looking at his video cameras, you never know who's could be stealing your house, he looks through the video cameras and sees the child throwing the thing in, like gewalt. But then they found out, no problem. They calculated everything is mutter, 60 kazasim of cholent and meat, keneged that 1 kazais of isra the child threw in, everything is mutter. Comes along the Lamdan, the Shir Bacher, he says, but Tati, didn't we learn about Hanan? So at the time that the child put the Isser into the pot, so we should say Hanan, and now they say Hanan, it doesn't make a difference that you have 60 Esachakol. At the point that you put it in, the whole pot became Usser of meat. So in that, the Ramah says, since you didn't know about it at that time, and you only knew about it after the fact, says the Ramah, everything is Batal. We don't say Hanan. That's the Ramah. So the Shach says that if the Ramah himself, we can explain this halacha. I had 29 and 30, it falls in, nobody knew anything. They then mixed it together, no clue what was happening, and later on, when they looked at the video camera, they saw that an Isser fell in, and that would be the case of our sugya. However, the Shach himself happens to disagree with that kula of the Ramah, and therefore he says that, no, even if you knew about it, one needs to be machmir. But it is a very important shita of the... What? Even if you did not know about it. Yeah, I said it backwards. Even if you did not know about it, the Shach holds that one needs to be machmir. I just want to comment on that Ramah that holds to be mekel. We could understand very clearly why that is, because since the whole inyan is a drabanan, so therefore they had that built-in kula. Okay. The Ramah concludes this halacha with the following: V'kol shekain b'shnei zeisim echad shel gvina ve'echad shel basar d'chol echad mevatel chaveroi. What's the case? The case is I have a big pot of vegetable soup, and I have a piece of cheese, I have a piece of meat, and they fall into the vegetable soup. So now the halacha is that you should say basar b'cholav, but the Ramah paskins, since I had 59 zeisim of vegetable soup, 1 kazayas of meat, 1 kazayas of cheese, it fell in, everything is mutter. Why? Very simple, because keneged the meat, I have 60 kazaysim, 59 of vegetable, 1 kazayas of cheese, and vice versa. Keneged the 1 kazayas of cheese, I have 60 kazaysim, and keneged it to mevatel, 59 of vegetable, and 1 kazayas of meat. That's the Ramah. Why is this a kol shekain? The Ramah says, this is certainly mutter. Why is it a kol shekain? The reason is very simple. When it comes to Shari Surim, well, the starting point is I have a davar shel iser in front of me, and I'm being mevatel in iser. So intuitively would have thought, I don't know, I threw in two kasesim of iser, I have to, am I able to mevatel that iser with another iser? So that's, so the Mechaber says, even though I have another Isser here, that Isser of Chalev could be included in the team to Mevatel the Dam, and vice versa. But in the case of Basar B'Chalav, until they become Asr, they're in the same team. We're all, we like each other. So it doesn't matter. So there's no reason to assume that they shouldn't Mevatel each other. So that's the svara of the Ramah of the Kol Shekain. What's the chiddush though? What? It's a kal v'chomer because he's saying is that if you can use iser to mevatel iser, so kol shekain you can mevatel heter because I'm not being mevatel anything, and that's the whole. Also, cholav is so interesting in that way that you're never being mevatel in iser. It's always the whole inyan of basar b'cholav is always about being mevatel the tam, and therefore it makes a lot more sense. What's the chiddush of this Ramah? So very interesting. It comes out. I mean, this sounds so intuitive, but you have this 59 pot of vegetable soup, and I drop in the meat and I drop in the cheese. I could literally pull them out and go about your day and eat them. Like that's what comes out from this Ramah, and that's why that's the sort of the. It doesn't sound intuitive that you could do that, right? If you mix it all together, one thing, but to pull it out of the pot. Not that when you analyze it, there's nothing wrong with it. It just didn't sound right. The Ramah is emphasizing that is mutter. You should not even, exactly, that's true. That's a good point, yeah, that's a good point. Okay, Siman Tzadites. Dinat Samais Mitzarfen Levatel Iser, V'shlo Levater Iser Lechatchila. Two separate topics we'll be learning in Siman Tzadites. Chatichas Nevela, Sheyesh Ba Basar V'at Samais, Shenofla Lekadeiras Heter, At Samais HaIser Mitzarfen Ima Heter, Levatel iser, ve'ein tzarich loymar she'at samais heter mitztarfen ima heter, aval hamoyach she'bat samais iser mitztarif ima iser. Ve'gufa kedera eini mitztarefes loyma iser ve'loyma heter, ve'yesh machmirin shlo litzarif at samais iser ima heter, levatel u'malkom hefsid yesh lismoch amakilin u'matirin ve'ki chein iker. Okay, let's try to go through this step by step. Another straightforward case. So chatichas nevela sheish b'basar. Standard case, a case of nevela, you have, let's say, two kazesim of steak in front of you. In the steak, you have one kazayas of meat and one kazayas of bone. That's the way it is. Shenafala kederas heter, you take that piece of steak and you throw it into a kederas heter. So the halacha is, atzames ha'isser mitzdarfen ima heter. So let's just say we had 59, once again, our wonderful number 59 kazesim of, let's just say, water, sauce, makes a difference what, and I now put in two kazesim of nevela steak, right? If you ask anybody how the world could that every mutter, doesn't make sense, and the answer is, says the Mechaber, because in the two kazesim of meat, I have bones. So since I have bones, so for the bones is one kazayas. That bone is mitzaref with the heter, and the meat, it now gets absorbed in the bones, and that's the 59 of vegetable soup or whatever it is, one kazayas of bone, all that keneged the meat, and therefore it's mevatel the meat. So misarfin yimeheter levatel iser, vein tzarich loymar she'at samas aheter, mitzarfin yimeheter. Certainly, says the Mechaber, the bones of the heter themselves are going to work l'tzarif to mevatel the iser. Aval hamoach shebat samais iser mitzarifim iser. If I have marrow in these bones, so then that is aser to eat. And therefore, that has a shame isser on it, and therefore it's going to it's going to start with the isser in order to ensure you have to mevatel it.
So in your example, if there is marrow, then it's all usr.
It's all usr, right? But the bone itself is still.
No, because there would be some marrow in the. So you had exactly one desire of bone.
Right.
Now it wouldn't work. But if there's no marrow, then it's all.
That I wasn't sure about that because if I know I have two kazesim sachakol, right, and the marrow is usr, but there is bone in there, and the bone itself is. You're saying because we don't know. We don't know.
If you had exactly one desire of bone and one desire of meat.
Yeah.
Then in the situation where there is marrow in the bone, it's all usr. And when the situation where there's no marrow in the bone, it's all.
Right. For sure, if there's no marrow, it's all mutter. But if there is marrow, is it all usr because the bone itself is mutter?
Because if there's one desire of
Yeah.
minus the marrow, and then you don't have designs. The marrow is added on, so you have.
You're saying, right, okay, right. Yeah. Now, the Gufa Kedera, Ein Mitzaref as Loi Me'isr V'lo Meheter. The Kedera itself is not Mitzaref. Okay. V'yesh Machmir Shel Tzaref as Somas Isser. The Ramah says there are Machmirin who are not Mitzaref the Isser. That Mitzaref the bones. Let's speak out the Kitzer, some of the points in this Shulchan Aruch. So first of all, bones, interesting enough, bones are actually usher to eat. They're also nichol in the Isser, but it's an Isser d'Rabbanan. They don't have tam, and therefore, midaraisa, they're mutter to eat. Midrabbanan, bones are usher to eat. Very interesting though. This is a very, very interesting halacha. Although the bones are usher to eat, and they're nichlal in the shem devela yet, it's not like in the previous siman where the bones had the different shem isser. It's the same shem isser. Afal pikain, the bones can be used to work against the isser. Very interesting halacha. Okay, it makes sense. Now, what needs a little bit of explanation is what's up with the kedera. Why would the kedera not work? At Kama, we're going to say the bones could work, and the bones yet are usher to eat. So why would the kedera not work? Why would the taste not get absorbed in the kedera? So the Prisha writes the reason is because the kedera has been used already. We've been cooking with this pot for many years. So we don't know how much time is already nivla. There's an amount that we're able to contain in the pot. So although we're always machmir, as we learned earlier, that whenever you cook in a pot, you always have to assume the entire pot has shem isser. That's a chumrah. But you can't be makel on that svara, so we don't know how much time is actually being nivla in the pot at any given moment. So that's why, says the Prisha, we're machmir to not include the pot machlal. There's another svara the Paiskim say that it could be the reason is because, generally speaking, you don't fill the pot to the top, right? So how much did you fill your pot? You never know. So Chazal said, let's be machmir not to include the pot at all. If you were going to include the pot, you would have to know precisely what the level was. And people, human error, we're going to say, I think it was this much, And because of that, Chazal said, let's be machmir and not to include the pot at all. Okay, let's stop over here. We're just going to pick up from here tomorrow.
Okay.